Howdy fellas, today we're going to be looking over Dead by Daylight, the asymmetrical survival horror game made by Behavior Interactive. This is going to be the first part of 2, with this part talking about what it's like to be a survivor in Dead by Daylight. I'm going to be attempting to keep things specifically about survivors, talking mostly about the important parts of the game to them. For instance, I'm going to keep the conversation of map design mostly to the killer video, as I think talking about them in conjunction with killers will be more fruitful than talking about them with survivors. Of course, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this game, I'm just gonna have to put this out there. I think Behavior sucks large dick and also balls. Like, let's be real, I think the community is far more passionate about this game than the developers. If modding support was put into this game, the devs would be out of a job. It's that bad. I'm gonna be bullying them this entire video and in the next one, so don't worry. We'll come back to this later. So, Dead by Daylight is an asymmetrical horror game all about one killer trying to eviscerate 4 survivors. The 4 survivors are placed into a randomly generated map chosen out of a large pool and then tasked with completing generators to power up exit gates which allow you to escape. As far as I'm concerned, when talking about this video, the survivor wins by escaping the match. Just so we're clear. Obviously, this isn't always an easy task, as a mostly unstoppable killer is roaming the map whose sole purpose is to turn your intestines into decorative Christmas lights. His job is to slap you on a meat hook 3 times to get you out of the game and get himself, or herself, we gotta give some of these killers girl power, the points needed to progress your characters. This simple interaction, with survivors playing as the mice and the killer playing as the cat, creates a fairly open game with a lot of different playstyles, all with the purpose of getting yourself out of the game or helping your teammates get out of the game alive. I mean, technically, you don't have to help your fellow survivors, but if you help them, they might be able to help you. Try being a smart fella, rather than a fart smeller. Essentially, perks are boosts and changes to your character which can help you escape the match. They're either passive buffs, which let you do normal things in the match better, or they're active abilities you can activate to help you out more in what you're doing. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. If I went through every single survivor perk in this game, it would take me about 4 hours. And since I don't really feel like going through 89 goddamn perks, I'm just gonna hit the big ones and the ones I like. Yeah, it's boring time. Alright, so we're gonna talk about all the perks that everyone actually uses because they're really good or something. This will give you a good explanation of the different kinds of things that perks can actually do. They changed the game a lot to the point where people will be begging for them to be nerfed, so we're gonna go in alphabetical order. So the first is Adrenaline. This perk is really simple. If the exit gates are powered, you're healed a health state and start running really fast for like 5 seconds. Next is Borrowed Time. This is a perk from Bill from the Left 4 Dead series. Yeah, he's in the game, I wouldn't really worry about it. Borrowed Time gives a survivor you pull off the hook an extra health state for like 12 seconds so the killers don't just insta-down them. It's really useful for not making your teammates hate you. Dead Hard. Next is Dead Hard. This piece of shit lets you boost forward when injured, giving you just enough distance to get away from a killer hit. You gotta get the timing right, or you're dead. Or you could get the timing perfect and go down anyway because you didn't do the proper math calculated the killer's projected speed along with the ping of the server encountering the killer priority or any potential desync. Stupid. Decisive Strike. Iron Will is pretty simple. If you're injured, you are silent. You don't make any noise. This is a good perk for messing with the killer's awareness. Or it does nothing because your Nike Air Jordans are sticking out from behind the wall, but whatever. Is object meta now? Is that the thing now? Is that the meta? Self-care lets you heal yourself without a medkit, but at half speed. This has never been meta, stop thinking it is. Spine Chill is actually meta. If the killer looks at you, you know. Literally overrides every perk and ability the killer could use to hide themselves in the game. Sprint Burst is a perk that lets you, sprint. Unbreakable is amazing. If you're on the ground, down by the killer, you can just get back up. It's that simple. Just stand up, idiot. We're Gonna Live Forever is a pretty common perk nowadays that I would call meta. It boosts the amount of points you get a match, and it lets you heal down survivors faster. It's a win-win for pretty much everyone involved. Almost all of these perks are interchanged on meta builds, but if I would have to go with one build, which would just be the fuck you killer build, I'd have to go with Decisive Strike, Iron Will, Unbreakable, and Sprint Burst. This perk build is fucking insane. Sprint Burst can be interchanged with Dead Hard, but Dead Hard no works so well. You feel me? There are 89 survivor perks in the game, and I just named like 10. These perks aren't even fun, they're just good. If you want perks that are fun, I can give you fun perks. Alphabetical order again, starting with Aftercare. People sleep on this perk. This shit's better than Bond. You can see everyone, everywhere, if you just heal them or they heal you. It's bonkers. You can basically see everything. Your third eye has opened. Autodidact is unironically the best perk in the game. You can heal people in like 5 seconds. Killers will fear the survivors that have this perk maxed out. This is an Adam Francis perk, and I don't know why Behavior decided to just drop one of the best perks in the game with him, but alas, here it is. Calm Spirit. Birds don't run away from you, and you don't scream. This counters almost nothing, but it's amazing when it does. Pebble. You throw rock. That's it. For the People simply lets you instantly heal people. You basically give them your health state, but it's cool nonetheless. It's fun if you really know what you're doing. Kindred is Poggers. You can see the killer when he's near a hook survivor. It's really good for map awareness. Open-handed is probably the funniest fucking perk in the game. They recently buffed it, but they also nerfed it. It's less powerful now when used with other people, but it's stronger alone. All it does is boost aura reading ranges for perks like Kindred. Basically, have fun seeing the killer everywhere on the map. Second Wind is fun as shit, because you gotta work for it. You heal others, and after you get off the hook, you get healed after a short time. I wish more perks in the game were like this perk. You do something to get something. It's a very good back and forth. The last perk is Tenacity. You crawl on the ground faster. That's it. It's just funny. It's not good. That's about it for the perks that actually fucking matter, though. So let's talk about something equally important. The stuff that you can actually bring into the match.
Yes, I'm a simp.
This isn't going to take very long. There are like 5 item types. I'm going to tell you what they all do, but I'm not going to get into the specifics. And trust me, this shit gets complicated. And that's mostly because this game is needlessly complicated. I have no fucking clue why. Like, Behavior. What the fuck is burning supposed to be? And why does it only affect 2 killers? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, just take it out of the game. Why is it there? It doesn't fucking do anything. How much dead code is there in this game that makes it more annoyingly bloated and larger than it should be? Is there a coconut? Is there a goddamn coconut image in your code? It feels like there is. Whatever, I don't care that they made a game out of goddamn toothpicks. Let's go over the items. Let's start with the most useful but simplistic of the items. Medkits. You can heal yourself with a medkit and you can heal others faster. Most of the add-ons for this item just make the healing faster and make the medkit last longer. You got a syringe that can heal over time while you do other shit, and then there's also this purple add-on which lets you take a hit while you're injured. Kinda cool. The medkit is almost always useful, but it's not crazy. Here's a cool trick. Walk over to a hook while carrying a toolbox and hold mouse 2. You get bonus points if the killer is carrying someone to this hook. I will have to say this is usually a one-way express ticket to removing yourself from the game entirely. Killers do not like this. But yeah, toolboxes are used to break hooks. The hooks don't stay gone forever, but it's really good in the moment. And yeah, you can repair generators faster with them too, but it's not as cool as giving the killer PTSD. You can blind the fucking killer. It's your very own lightsaber. You will die, because the killer will chase you and only you, but it's fucking worth it. You can blind the killer for 2 seconds by shining it in their eyes, and if they're carrying someone while you blind them, they drop the guy. Also, you can break hag traps with it, but like, that's like such a rare occurrence, so stick with the killer blinding. Now there's an item in the game called a map. Can you tell me what a map does? That's right, it highlights objects on the map. What? You thought it was gonna be an actual map? Who do you think Behavior is? An actual company that could code that into the game? You're crazy. Maps are mostly used to keep track of generators and sometimes totems. These, bones. I'm not gonna talk about totems in this video. The last item you should concern yourself with are keys. These fuckers can open something called the hatch, which basically lets you insta-escape the match. Now, the hatch doesn't spawn on the map until gens are done or enough people are dead, so it's not broken. Well, the jury's still out on that one. It's definitely annoying as a killer to go against keys, but yeah, they're not the biggest deal. They also allow you to read auras really well. That's like 90% of their purpose, but no one uses keys that way. They use the key as a key, which is not what you're supposed to do with it most of the time. Man, behavior really didn't think this shit through, huh? Either way, you got the knowledge now. You know about the perks, you know about the items. Now it's time to talk about the entire reason people even play this game. I'm talking about... It's widely regarded that the most fun you can have in this game is the direct interaction you have with the killer. Rather surprising that fixing generators for 80 seconds isn't the riveting gameplay. How's the chase work, though? It's easy. You have pallets, which can be used to block off the killer and stun them, and then you have windows, which are used to block off the killer and create distance. That's it. In terms of the raw gameplay that there is, that's literally all there is when it comes to consistent physical ways to fight against the killer. There are things like exhaustion perks like Dead Hard and Sprint Burst, which help you in the chase, and then you have other perks which can be useful, but when it comes to the raw chase, you got pallets, and you got windows. 90% of this game is knowledge, let's be real here. It's not a hard game to play, it's hard to learn everything. Everything has a right way to do things, and it's not that hard to do, it's hard to know what to do. Example 1. Pallets. A lot of new players will see a pallet and throw that shit down faster than a whistleblower kills themselves. Good players will know how many times you can run around the pallet before it becomes too dangerous to not throw it down. Windows have distances you need to run at before you can get what's called a fast vault. Bad players won't know these distances, and it can feel weird getting fast vaults sometimes and then being geriatric other times. Since certain buildings or tiles can be extremely powerful the more knowledge you have on them, it's not uncommon to see bad killers complaining that players can abuse them. There have been cases where they were right and these places were being abused, but most of the time it's because the survivor's knowledge overshadowed the killer's knowledge. That's the other thing about chases. They're more of a battle of the brain, not actual skill. Especially for survivors, the actual skill ceiling is very low. The mechanics will never be what lets you win. It will always be about how much more you know and can predict over the killer. At a higher level of play, this game is all mind games. High level play is just breaking people's ankles. That's it. This isn't a game where you spend 2,000 hours perfecting your headshots in the range. It's about knowing when to just tell yourself, I'm not jumping over this window, and the killer fully expects you to. Sure, there's some skill involved in mind games, but most of it has to be learned over the course of a single match against a single killer, then relearned against another. It's all about accumulating knowledge, not just on the maps and the tiles on the said maps, but also about the killers themselves. Each killer will have their own abilities used specifically to bring you to the land of the unliving, and if you know how they work, you'll know how to make sure they don't work. You either gotta play against them a shit ton, or play as them for a little bit. You gotta know your enemy.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Every survivor is the exact same. They might sell different cosmetics for the different survivors, but they all play the exact same. There is no mechanical difference between any of them besides maybe their ability to moonwalk. Dwight can moonwalk really well. Now, they do all have these things called teachable perks, but once you unlock those, everyone gets them. There's nothing special about any of them. I mean, you can play as Steve from Stranger Things, though, so, like, that's pretty cool. So, all the survivors are the same, and they all progress the same way, but how do you progress? There's this thing called the Blood Web. You collect points in matches and spend them here. You can buy items, perks, and offerings in the Blood Web. The higher your Blood Web level, the more stuff you can get per level, and obviously the more perks you will have on your character. Those teachables every character has are unlocked in the Blood Web at level 30, 35, and 40. Once you unlock them, every character can get them in their own Blood Web. And yeah, you can get every perk on a character. Would you like to spend 500 hours mindlessly grinding away for the chance to do that? I'll let you answer that one yourself. You also have this thing called a player level. Right there. This thing increases when you play the game. Period. It's kind of your gauge for how long you've actually been playing. It goes up to 100 and then resets back to 1, giving you a smaller devotion number. Kind of think of it like prestiging. When you level your player level up, you get these things called shards. They're a currency which lets you buy cosmetics and non-licensed characters. It takes like 300 hours to save up enough to get a character. And speaking of characters, apparently they all have
Sniper Monkey.
The lore of this game is you're stuck in an infinite hellscape with a goddamn spider god that feeds off torture. The killers are the employees of the spider god being paid in Google stocks to hook your fat ass. Each survivor also has their own lore about their life and how they got here. If you want to learn about them, go read about it yourself. There's a lot to go through, and by God, I'm not going to be the one to do it. The newer characters all seem to have much more of a connection to what the hell is actually happening in the game, because I think they pay an actual writer now. I mean, look at this shit. I think Matthew Cote himself wrote all of this. Every single one of them went for a walk and got yoinked by this Spider-Man. I only wish they put as much effort into the killer mechanics and bug fixing as they do into these new character stories. Like, this is actually good. This is actually interesting. Well, except the K-pop one. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Why the fuck did they add a K-pop killer to this game? Well, that's basically what being a survivor is all about. I just spent 20 minutes telling you the long version of what it's like to hold down the mouse button for 8 minutes. Perks are important, but I wouldn't worry about doing what's meta. Only bad survivors use meta perks. That's a fact. Only people who have any self-respect use perks like Autodidact and Tenacity.
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am.
You've got the gist of items, although there is still definitely more you could learn about them. I'd suggest if you have the game to experiment with things. Keys are actually fun to use if you use them the way God intended. We went over chasing and how if you're good at it, you can actually tell how superior you are to everyone else around you. There's the progression that takes about 1,000 hours. Yeah, I think we went over the important bits. If you made it to this part of the video and you're wondering what it's like to be a killer, don't worry, that's coming soon. That'll show up in the next few weeks, so if you found this video and liked what you see, stay tuned for the shit show of what it's like to be killer.